The wind howled like a beast outside. Snow danced through the air, white and sharp like blades. Jared pulled his coat tighter around his chest as he climbed over a frozen ridge. His boots crunched into ice with every step. He wasn't supposed to be out this far, but his small outpost was losing power. The solar grid had failed, and his backup heater was barely working. If he didn't find something, a part, a cable, anything, he wouldn't survive another night. Jared scanned the snowy landscape with tired eyes, just white, mountains of snow, frozen rocks. No signs of life, until his gaze stopped. Something was moving, barely in the snow ahead. Two shapes, low to the ground. At first he thought it was wreckage, maybe a downed drone. But then one of the shapes twitched, not metal, alive. He rushed forward, boots slipping as he got closer. He could see them clearly now. Two bodies, half buried in snow. Bare skin, no clothes. Skin not like his. Pale blue, smooth, almost glowing in the white light of the sky. Aliens. They weren't breathing hard. They were barely breathing at all. Jared dropped to his knees. The one on the left had long white hair stuck to her frozen face. Her arms were curled around the smaller one, who looked even younger. Their legs were locked together like they were trying to stay warm. No fire, no gear. No way they should still be alive. He reached out, unsure. Taller one's eyes flicked open, golden eyes. She looked at him. Her lips trembled. Her voice was so soft, he almost missed it. Warmth. Then her eyes closed again. Jared didn't think. He pulled the younger girl onto his back, then carefully lifted the older one in his arms. He turned around and started moving. Each step back to his shelter felt like carrying a mountain. The storm got worse. The wind screamed louder. The snow stabbed harder. But he didn't stop. He kept walking. Back in his outpost, a broken metal structure half buried in the snow. He dropped to his knees inside and kicked the door shut behind him. The heat lamp flickered overhead. Barely working, he laid them down on his sleeping mat and wrapped both in his only thermal blanket. Their skin was like ice. He ran to the small heater, opened the emergency fuel cell, and forced it to start. A small flame came to life. Warmth finally filled the air. The older girl stirred. Her eyes opened again, golden and glowing in the dim light. "You came back for us," she whispered. Jared blinked. "You were freezing." "Of course I did." She looked at the younger girl beside her. Her lips trembled. "My sister is she. She's breathing," Jared said gently. "But barely. You both need rest." The alien girl blinked slowly, then nodded. She was beautiful in a strange, alien way. Delicate features, soft lips, sharp cheekbones, but fragile, like glass. She tried to sit up, but her arms shook too much. Jared leaned forward and helped her, gently pulling her up against the wall where the heat reached. Her body tensed under his touch, not in fear, but in surprise. She stared at his hands, then looked at his eyes. "You touched me," she said. He frowned. "Yeah, I was helping you." She tilted her head, studying him. "No, you chose to touch me. With bare hands, you saved me and my bloodline." Jared gave her a tired smile. "You're welcome, I guess." She looked down at her sister, who was now slowly stirring. "I am Alani," she said softly. "First daughter of House El Shah, and she is Neria. My only blood." "I'm Jared," he said, rubbing his neck. "Just a guy trying not to freeze to death." Alani touched her chest. Her fingers brushed across a thin mark near her collarbone. Then she looked at him again, voice low, "By the old ways. We now belong to you." Jared blinked. "Wait, what?" But Alani had already leaned back and closed her eyes, her body finally beginning to relax in the warm room. The younger sister, Neria, let out a small cough. Her eyes slowly opened. Bright silver, soft and innocent. Her gaze met Jared's, and she smiled. When Jared woke up, the room was warm, but the air felt strange, too quiet. He opened his eyes slowly. Both alien sisters were awake and watching him. Ilani sat cross-legged by the heater, her white hair loose and glowing in the dim light. Neria sat beside her, arms wrapped around her knees, eyes wide and soft. They didn't speak at first, just stared at him like he was something important, something rare. Jared sat up, rubbing his head. "Morning," he said. Ilani tilted her head. "You sleep without armor," she whispered. He blinked. Yeah. Is that a problem?" She didn't answer. Instead, Neria stood and walked toward him, barefoot on the metal floor, her pale skin almost shimmering in the heatlight. "You gave us your heat," she said quietly, "your shelter, your blanket, your touch." She stopped. In front of him, too close. Jared raised his hand slightly. "I was trying to keep you alive," Neria nodded slowly. "And in doing so, you bound yourself to us." Ilani stood now too, her voice firmer than her sister's. "You touched us both with bare hands," she said. "That is not a small thing among our kind," Jared frowned. "I didn't know your customs. I was just—" Ilani stepped closer. "You saved our lives, knowing nothing about us. You acted without fear, and without reward. That makes you more than a man. That makes you worthy." "Worthy of what?" he asked. Alani's eyes locked with his. "Our house has fallen. Our bloodline was marked for extinction. But by the old law, if one of noble flesh is rescued by an outsider, the rescuer becomes our protector and our chosen mate." Jared stared at them, first Ilani, then Neria. They weren't joking. Their faces were calm, serious, almost ceremonial. "You're saying I married you," he said slowly, "by accident." Neria gave a tiny smile. "Not married, not yet, but claimed, both of us." Jared stood up, holding his head. "Look, this is too much. I'm not royalty. I'm just a mechanic from Earth. I fix ships, not start kingdoms." "You fixed us," Ilani said gently. "That is harder than fixing any machine." She walked over to the pile of gear in the corner, the broken heater parts, the torn coat, the half-melted snow extractor. Then she turned back and said something that made his stomach twist. "You could have left us to die, but you didn't. And now, by the fire's witness, you are no longer alone, and neither are we." Jared looked at the small space, barely enough for one person to live. Now it held 3, and 2 of them were standing in front of him, offering something he never asked for and maybe never deserved. He sighed, sat back down, and looked at them. "You're serious, aren't you?" Ilani nodded. Then she and Neria knelt together, hands touching the ground, heads bowed. "We ask your acceptance," they said as one. "Let our names be yours." Jared froze. Everything felt like a dream. The snowstorm, the rescue, the quiet girl with silver eyes, the proud warrior with golden ones. He thought of saying no. He thought of telling them this was madness. But then Neria looked up at him, her voice trembling. "If you reject us, our people will hunt us again. They will say we were unclaimed, and we will not survive the next winter." And Jared, the man who came to this world looking only for spare parts, looked at them both. 2 sisters, holding nothing but hope, and he said the only thing he could. "You can stay." Both girls looked up, eyes wide. "Just give me time to understand this," he added. "I don't know your laws, your ways, but I'm not sending you back into the cold." Ilani smiled for the first time. A slow, quiet smile, full of strength. "You have already accepted more than you know." Neria moved closer, almost reaching for his hand, then stopped. Jared looked at her, and for a second, he didn't feel like a lonely scavenger anymore. He felt like someone important. But outside, the wind screamed louder and far in the distance, something roared across the sky. A low, rising sound. Metal engines. Not his. Not friendly. And Ilani's smile faded. "They found us." The wind outside had calmed, but inside the shelter, Something else was building. Tension. Jared sat by the heater, staring at the flickering flame. He had checked the perimeter. No signs of movement yet, but he couldn't shake the sound he had heard earlier. A distant roar, low and powerful, too clean to be a storm, too steady to be thunder. It was a ship, no doubt, but who it belonged to? He didn't know. Behind him, the two sisters whispered to each other in their native tongue. Their voices were soft, musical, like wind chimes in the warm night air. But now their tones were filled with worry. They had changed out of the frozen cloth Jared had wrapped around them. Now they wore two spare thermal shirts he had found in storage, oversized, stretched, and barely long enough to cover their thighs. He turned his head just enough to see them. Alani standing near the wall, arms crossed, looking at the door, as if it might break open at any second. Neria sat on the edge of the sleeping mat, hugging her knees and looking at Jared like he was the only thing left between her and the void. Jared cleared his throat. "If they're coming, I need to know what we're up against," he said. Alani didn't turn. "They are trackers," she said. "Born for cold planets. Their ships do not land. They hover above and drop hunters. Cold suits, metal claws. They don't speak, only hunt." "Why are they after you?" Jared asked. Alani looked at him now. "Because we escaped. Because we refused to breed with the males they chose. Because we ran." Neria's voice was softer. "And because we are the last of our blood." Jared looked away, heart tightening. The silence stretched again. Then the heater popped, and the room dimmed. The backup cell was failing. Jared cursed under his breath and stood, checking the controls. Power's low. Might last the night, maybe not. After that, we're just meat in the cold. Alani stepped forward. "You should sleep," she said. "Your body needs it." Jared gave a tired laugh. "Sleep is not really my top priority right now." But Neria had already pulled the blanket to the center of the mat. She looked at him and spoke in a calm, clear voice. "You have kept us alive, Jared. Let us keep you warm." He hesitated. "It's not like that," he said. "I'm not expecting anything." Alani walked to his side. She touched his arm. Her hand still cool despite the heater. "Sharing heat is survival, not romance," she said. "Unless you want it to be more." Her eyes locked with his. Golden, sharp, deep. He didn't answer. He simply nodded. They all laid down together, one blanket, three hearts. The heater buzzed softly. Neria curled up beside Jared, her head resting near his shoulder. Alani laid on the other side, back turned at first, but then slowly. She shifted until her knees brushed against his. For a while, no one spoke. The warmth between them was enough. But then Neria whispered. "Did you have someone?" she asked, "before coming here?" Jared thought for a moment. "No, I left Earth alone. I worked on ships, always drifting, never settling this place. It was supposed to be a short job." Alani's voice came from the dark. "Now it is your fate." Jared turned slightly. "Because of you two? Because of what you chose," she said. "You stayed, you saved, you accepted." Jared didn't know how to answer. Then softly, Neria placed her hand on his chest. "I dreamt of you," she said. He blinked. "What?" "I saw you, before we met, in my sleep, in the dark. I didn't know your face, but I felt your warmth." Jared's heart beat faster. Alani didn't speak for a while. Then she said something that hit even harder. "I never believed in dreams, until you touched my hand." Jared felt something stir inside him. Not just attraction, not just survival, something deeper, something older. Outside, the wind picked up again, but inside, the warmth between them grew. Three lost souls, one tiny flame, one bed, holding a choice no one dared to speak out loud. But deep inside, they all knew this was more than survival now. The sound came back at dawn. The soft wind or the crackle of the failing heater. The sound was deeper, heavier, vibrating the very ground beneath them like a warning. Jared opened his eyes. Ilani was already awake, sitting up, staring at the ceiling like she could see through the metal. Neria clung to his side, still half asleep but breathing fast. He sat up quickly. "What is that?" he asked. Ilani answered without looking at him. "A hunter ship. Close now." Jared jumped to his feet and grabbed the old motion scanner he had repaired days ago. The screen blinked slowly. Nothing at first, then a flicker. Movement, just outside the ridge, heading toward them. He looked at the two sisters. "We have to move," he said. "Now." But Ilani shook her head. "They will smell the trail. They are bred to follow body heat. They are fast. They never stop." "Then what do we do?" Jared asked Dot. She finally looked at him. "We fight," Jared blinked. "You fight?" Ilani stood slowly. She reached under the sleeping mat and pulled out something he hadn't seen before, a long dark rod with glowing edges, a folded weapon. Old tech, alien make, still deadly. Neria stood too, less confident but just as determined. Jared's heart pounded. "I thought you were running," he said. Ilani nodded. "We were, but not from fear. From the law." She pressed a button on the rod. The weapon unfolded, forming a spear of sharp light and crackling energy. Neria stepped forward, placing her hand on Jared's chest. "We will not run again," she said. "Not while you are here." Jared didn't speak for a moment. Then he walked to the cabinet, grabbed the old plasma cutter, and handed it to Ilani. "It's not much," he said, "but it burns through armor if you get close." Ilani took it with a firm nod. He gave Neria a handheld flare gun. One shot. High voltage. Enough to stun, maybe kill. Then he opened the hatch slowly and looked out. The snow was falling harder again, giving them cover. But in the distance, he could see a dark figure moving through the storm. Tall, thin, in a full cold suit. Silver armor that moved like liquid. Its eyes glowed red. It was not alone. Another one followed. Then a third. Jared turned to the sisters. "There are three. Ilani, step beside him. Then we divide." She pointed to a rock line outside the ridge. "I take the west side. Neria takes the tower slope. You stay here and cover the front. They always come in threes. One flanks, one hunts, one watches. Break their triangle, and they lose coordination." Jared blinked. "You've done this before." Ilani gave a cold smile. "More times than I wanted." They split. Jared knelt near the entry hatch, plasma rifle aimed. Hands sweating. The snow danced in the wind again. And then, movement. One of the hunters stepped out from the white wall of storm, walking straight toward him. Not rushing. Not afraid. As if Jared was already dead. Jared waited. Closer. Then he fired. The shot hit the hunter square in the chest, but it didn't drop. It staggered, then lifted a curved blade that gleamed in the snow light. Jared backed away. Then suddenly, something else hit the hunter from the side. IELNI. She moved like lightning, her energy spear flashing with every strike. The hunter swung back, but she ducked, twisted, and drove the blade under its arm. The creature shuddered, then fell into the snow, but another one was already behind her. Jared shouted, "Ilani, behind you." She turned just in time, blocking with her spear, but the hunter was strong. Then a flare burst from above, red and white, and the second hunter screamed as it dropped to one knee. Neria stood on the slope, her eyes wide with fear, her hand shaking, but she had fired the shot. The third hunter turned to run, but Jared aimed and fired again. This time, he hit the weak spot in the neck plate. The last hunter fell. The snow was silent again, only breathing could be heard. 3 bodies, 3 hearts still pounding. Ilani dropped her spear. Neria stumbled toward them, falling into Jared's arms. Ilani knelt in front of him. "They will send more," she said. "They will not stop." Jared looked at the two sisters, one trembling, the other bleeding, both alive. "I have an old cargo ship," he said. "Half broken. Engines need hours of work, maybe more." Elani looked into his eyes. "Then let us help." "We will not let you carry this alone." Jared nodded. Then, for the first time, he said it out loud. "You're not a burden. You're my crew now." The storm had passed by morning, but inside the shelter, the air was thick, not with cold, with silence, with questions no one dared to ask out loud. Jared knelt over the ship's engine panel, fingers black with grease. The old freighter was sleeping, cold and silent, its coils frozen after months of neglect. But now, after the fight, they had no choice but to leave. More hunters would come, and they wouldn't be so few next time. Behind him, Elani stood at the supply shelf, sharpening the edge of her spear. She moved with purpose, eyes focused, posture perfect. Across the room, Neria stirred the heating gel, quiet but watching. Both sisters had been brave. Both had risked everything. But now there was something between them, something unspoken. And heavy. Jared noticed it in their eyes. When Elani looked at Neria, her jaw tightened. When Neria looked at Elani, her smile faded. They were not just sisters now. They were rivals. For him, he tried to ignore it, but the tension kept growing. Later, while checking the power lines near the comms array, Jared heard raised voices behind the supply crates. Not loud, not violent, but sharp. He stepped closer slowly. Elani's voice came first. "You cling to him like a shadow. You think that will make him choose you." Neria's voice was soft but firm. "I do not cling. I care. I listen. You only show strength. That is not love." Elani laughed, but it was bitter. "And what is love, Neria? A warm hand, a soft word. Will that protect him when the next ship lands? Will that stop a blade from his back?" Silence. Then Neria replied, "No, but love will give him a reason to survive." Jared stepped back, heart pounding. They were fighting over him, not with weapons, but with words. He didn't want this. He didn't want to divide them, but he also knew something deep now, something he hadn't accepted before. He had feelings for both. Different. Yes, but real. Later, that night, they sat around the heat lamp in silence. Jared finally spoke. "I heard you," he said. Both girls looked up. "I know what you're both feeling. I didn't ask for this, but I respect it. I care about you, both of you." Neria lowered her gaze. Elani's lips pressed tight. He continued, "But this isn't a game. This isn't about who wins me. This is about who we are when we stand together. I don't want to see you tear each other apart. We're stronger together. That's how we survived." Elani stood slowly. "If one must step back," she said, "let it be the weaker." Neria stood too. "I will not step back. Not because I want to win, but because I love him." Elani's eyes flashed. "Then prove it." Jared stood between them. "No, this is not the way." But Neria stepped forward. "I will not fight you, sister." Elani paused, her hand still gripping the side of her spear. "I will," she sighed, voice cold. Then she dropped the spear and turned toward Jared, but not with blades, not with anger. She looked into his eyes. "Let him decide." Jared froze. But then the comms panel blinked. A signal, short, broken, emergency. Broadcast from orbit. Elani rushed to the screen. Jared followed. It was faint, but real. A human vessel. Small, damaged. Nearby. He turned to the sisters. "If we can boost the signal, they might find us." Elani stepped back. "Then choose, Jared, before they arrive." He looked at her, proud and fierce. Then at Neria, gentle and loyal. His heart pulled in both directions. Then he said the words that changed everything. "I will not choose between you. Not yet." Elani flinched. Neria looked confused. Jared walked toward the ship's power bank. "I have a different request. If you want me, Then help me, not as rivals, but as crew. Help me survive. Help us escape. Help each other." Elani stared at him. Then slowly she nodded, and Rhea followed. Wiping a tear from her cheek, Jared stood at the open hatch. He looked at them. Two alien girls from a dying house, both willing to fight for him, but now willing to fight with him instead. Outside, in the cold sky, hope was coming closer. The signal from orbit was stronger now. Jared stood over the old comms panel, fine-tuning the frequency, sweat on his forehead. Each second mattered. The human vessel up there might be damaged, but it was still hope. Hope for escape, for warmth, for safety. Behind him, Neria checked the ship's interior, making sure the cargo hold was sealed and the engine chamber clean. Her movements were careful, quiet, almost like she was afraid of touching something that would break. Across the room, Elani adjusted the heat coil wiring, her hands fast, her eyes sharp. She worked like a soldier, like someone who had built battle shelters from bones and scrap. For a while, there was peace between them, but that peace was soft and thin, like ice before a crack. Later, as the sun dipped low and the cold returned, Jared sat alone by the window, watching the stars appear through the broken glass ceiling. He heard soft footsteps behind him. It was Neria. She sat beside him, knees drawn to her chest, eyes full of something heavy. "I need to ask you something," she said. Jared nodded. "If you had to choose one of us," she whispered, "would it be her or me?" Jared didn't answer right away. His throat was dry. "I said I wouldn't choose," he said quietly. "Not yet." Neria looked down. "That's the kindest lie," she said. "But it still hurts." She stood and walked away. Jared watched her go, his heart twisting. Then another voice came, stronger, sharper. "Elani, she's not ready for you," she said, stepping into the light. Jared turned. "Neither are you," he replied. "None of us are." Elani crossed her arms. "You speak like we are equal in this." "But we're not." She follows. "I lead." She weeps. "I fight." Jared stood. "That doesn't make her weak." Elani's jaw clenched. "I love her, Jared. She is my sister, my blood. But I will not lose you because I stepped aside." He looked at her, eyes steady. "I never asked you to fight for me." "You didn't have to," she said. "Your silence made it a war." The words hit hard. Then behind them, Neria cried out. Jared rushed back into the cabin. Neria was curled on the floor, shaking, her arm cut from a metal shard. She had tripped while trying to fix a panel near the ship's door. Elani dropped beside her. "Neria," she breathed. Neria looked up, tears streaking her face. "I didn't want this," she said. "I didn't want to compete. I just wanted us all to survive." Elani held her tightly. "I know," she whispered. "But the law gives us one choice, fight for the mate or be forgotten." Neria looked at Jared. "Then I won't fight," she said. "Not anymore." She reached into the folds of her coat and pulled out something small, a silver pendant shaped like a flame. She placed it in Jared's hand. "This is my bond mark," she said. "If you wear it, you choose me. If you give it back, I step aside forever." Jared looked down at the pendant. It was warm, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. He looked up. Rhea stood, silent now, eyes empty. Then Elani stood beside her and said something Jared never expected. "If you give it back," she said, "she must leave. Our laws are cruel, but they are true." Jared shook his head. "Then the laws are wrong." Elani placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then change them," she said, "but choose fast." Outside, the comms panel blinked green, a signal response. Human ship was close. Jared stepped toward the window, the pendant still in his hand. Behind him, silence. Then footsteps. One set. He turned. Only Elani remained. Neria was gone. He ran outside. The snow was falling again. Soft and slow. In the distance, a small figure walked toward the ridge, leaving footprints behind. Jared called out, "Neria!" She didn't stop. Alani stood behind him, voice quiet. "She gave you her heart, and you said wait. But she can't wait anymore." Jared looked at the pendant, then at the stars, and then at the girl who walked alone into the snow. The signal blinked faster. The human ship was almost here, but Jared was not inside the shelter. He was running across the ice, boots hitting the snow with every breath like thunder in his chest. Ahead of him, Neria was just a shadow between the white hills and the dark sky. She was walking into the cold, without armor, without direction, without him. He shouted her name again, Neria, this time. She stopped. Slowly she turned. Her silver eyes shimmered like stars, her cheeks red from the wind, her hands shaking from pain and heartbreak. Jared caught up to her, breathing hard. "You were going to leave," he said. She nodded. "I thought if I stayed, I'd ruin everything," she whispered. "You and her. Your path, your choice." He stepped closer. "You are part of my path," he said. "I don't want to choose between you. I want to choose both." Neria looked away. "That's not how our world works." "Then let's make a new world," Jared said. He opened his hand. The silver flame pendant sat in his palm, still warm, still alive. "I didn't return this," he said, "because I never rejected you." Tears filled her eyes. "But you didn't accept me either." Jared placed the pendant back around her neck. "I do now." Behind them, a sound echoed through the sky, soft but powerful. Engines. The human rescue ship was arriving. Alani appeared on the ridge behind them, her white hair blowing like snowfire. She stared at them both, her face unreadable. Jared turned. "I didn't come here looking for love," he said. "I came here to fix a broken relay. But I found two souls, two hearts, two warriors who would die for me, who would fight beside me, who saved me more than I saved them." He walked toward Alani. "You are proud, strong, brave, and I respect you. But you were wrong about something." She tilted her head. "What was that?" Jared stood firm. "She is not weak." Alani looked at Neria, then at Jared. And for the first time she smiled without pride. "She is not," she said softly. "She is the best of us." Jared reached for Alani's hand. "You don't have to choose between sisterhood and love," he said. "We can build something different, something better." Alani looked down, then took his hand. A bright light spread across the sky as the rescue ship broke through the clouds. A voice cracked through the static on Jared's communicator. "Unregistered. Signal located. Prepare for pickup. Warning, vessel has limited seats. 3 passengers max." Jared smiled. "That's all we need." Together they returned to the shelter. The beacon blinked green. The cargo hatch hissed open. Warm air spilled from the ship's belly like breath from a sleeping giant. Jared turned one last time to look at the planet that had tried to kill him, the storm, the silence, the isolation. But it had also given him something he never expected. Bond, a family, a future. He stepped onto the ship, Neria beside him, her hand in his. Alani followed, quiet and alert, her spear slung across her back. The door closed behind them. As the ship lifted into the sky. The storm below faded into white. Inside the cockpit, Jared sat between them. Alani rested her head on his shoulder. Eyes closed, finally safe. Neria held his hand, fingers warm, heartbeat steady. They were not escaping now. They were beginning, not as fugitives, not as survivors, but as something stronger. Together,